Hey everyone, this is going to be a very unscripted video as I'm just going over some passive trees that I think are very good for the early days of the league. I want to get this out as soon as possible so all of you that are just starting the season as well can have something very interesting to work towards and to hopefully make you a lot of currency in your first character so you can start to either invest into that and go very deep into tier or Timeart 8 and above, or if you're just wanting to use your first character to farm a bunch of currency, hopefully this will help. So, as you can see, I am currently in tier 7s. I am farming the Realm Lord, and I have 67 out of 92 of the points that you can get for the base trees. So if we have a look here, this is the build that I've been using for the most part. And if you're curious, this is where I'm at in my Clockwork Ballet. Okay. So starting with the first few points, I opted to put the first few points into Flame Sand. I think that's a very obvious thing to do. Flame Sand gives you the ability to craft and will be very important to reroll items and to look into that in the first few, at least hours of your endgame. If you later want to swap out of it and swap into something else, that's perfectly reasonable, and just buy your Flame Sand with FE, you can do that. But initially, in the first few hours at the very least, I would 100% recommend taking this wheel in whatever build you're doing. After that, actually, I've opted to go into here, into the gear constellation, because I wanted to try and start getting those priceless items. So far, I haven't gotten a single one. I have the whole tree, essentially. This gives me just 300, I believe. 300% chance increase to get priceless items. So far, got none. So, not quite sure how useful this would be, so I'm not going to recommend this. Instead, the points that I have here, you can very easily swap into one that I think is going to be very profitable at endgame, which is Goddess of the Hunting. Now, here I just did the math. You can get over 100% on Goddess of the Hunting to appear in the Nether Realm. I don't know, because I haven't tried it myself, I don't know if this is like in PoE passive trees where you can get 100% and it means it's going to spawn in every map, or if is this multiplying on the base chance of it appearing, which in that case is probably not going to be 100%. So keep that in mind. But you can get a lot of chance here, and you can also get a lot of quantity from this node. It does mean that the bosses are going to have 50% additional max life, but if you have a good build, a solid build that is doing a lot of damage, this should be no problem. Certainly in tier 7 or Timeart 7. And you can then further go into Lightning Blessing, which will give the monsters a lot more danger. They will be a lot more powerful, but it will also drop more items. And as usual, you have the things that we know from before. Replicate boss is very, very good. You can get 30% drop quantity as well from the buff when you start it. So if you kill it very quickly, this is very, very good. And overall, it's just a very, very nice tree in Goddess of the Hunting. Personally, I might actually swap God of War into that and start going into Goddess of Hunting, because that looks very, very promising. Now, if you are somebody that really enjoys Mistfill, I think that's a very, very good thing to do early on. Unfortunately, the tree is very boring, in my personal opinion. This whole tree down here is just increased chance for residents to spawn. Residents are the mobs that you kill and give you the eye, and you can then use that to progress towards Mistfill encounters. This here just makes so they have a chance to be replicated, the eyes that are dropped. And that's the whole branch. And this branch here just gives you a chance for the mobs that spawn to have an extra one. So rather than duplicate the chance of drops, it just guarantees that when they spawn twice, you're gonna get more drops, essentially. Very, very boring tree, nothing interesting here, but mediums are very popular, mediums are very strong, and in the early days they're gonna be very, very necessary for most people. So if you are somebody that can get in there and start farming these very early, there's a lot of money to be made there. Now, something that I really enjoy personally, and there's a bit of a change here, is Dream, or in this case Nightmare Constellation. So here I went for a lot of quantity for it to spawn. Right now this feels comfortable to me. I didn't take all the 3, but this feels very comfortable. It feels like every 5 maps, 3 or 4 of them at least will have the Dream, and that's good enough for the points invested. After that I went into here because I really want to have these sweet Dream mists. Those are the little clouds that appear, because that's where most of the profit is going to come from. And with the change that they made this season, if you're not aware, mobs will drop, I believe, no loot anymore, or very reduced loot, and instead the currency and the loot is going to come from the sweet mist. So that's what I'm going for. I went all the way here for this big note of +8, and now I'm going all the way up here to get the omens to have a chance to become additional drop quantity for when you go into the Nightmare. And that's what I'm going to be doing, and after that I'm probably diverging into some other tree, like potentially Eterna, because I need to farm candles obviously, and this is very good for that. So I'm looking forward to that. If you are trying to make currency, there's 2 ways of going about it. Actually there's 3 ways. One of them going into folklore and trying to get mediums very quickly to try and sell them and make a profit of the fact that they're very necessary in the early days and there's not many people that are getting them. The second one to me would be going into priceless items and selling bases, essentially. Easier to do, simpler, not very, for a lack of a better word, brainless. You can just run maps, and when something sparkly appears, you grab it, put it on the auction house, and make a profit out of that. But at least in Timeart 7 right now, I'm getting none with this tree, so it might be something that you need to be in Timeart 8 to really make use of. The third thing that I think will be very good is Goddess of the Hunting. It's probably very nice, and it will give you a solid amount of return on investment. That's probably the 3 main ways of making currency of these base trees that I can think of. There is obviously the change that they've done to Dark Surge. I haven't tried it, I don't know how profitable it is, but in the next few days I will give it a try and see how that looks. Obviously that's this big note here that says that Ultimate Legendary Gear drop chance in Dark Surge is increased by 3,600%. That's a very big number. We don't know how good that actually is, but I'll give it a try and see how that looks out in the following few days. NetherRealm Constellation actually is also very good, and will be probably one of my recommendations once you get to comfortably farming Timeart 7 specifically, because of this tree, and I think this tree on its own is good enough to justify just coming here and getting these points if you just want a very quick, easy way of making money. And this adds a lot of chance to replicate the star shards that you get while mapping, and those are actually sellable. Those are the things that you use to go and challenge the boss of that section of mapping, so the Watchers, and those are selling for, right now, at the time of making the video, about 2 FE per single one of these. So if you get like 10, that's 20 FE. Early days, that's not bad for just literally running a map, and you are still benefiting from all the other things, like having Goddess of the Hunting, or having priceless items dropping, and things like that. So actually, going into here and getting all of these points is going to be my next thing, and looking to add that to my farming rotation essentially, because these are just essentially free materials that you're getting to sell, and very good. And if you are comfortably doing Timeart 7, I would 100% recommend adding this to any tree that you are using right now. Hopefully these serve you well. Hopefully you're having a great league. Thank you so much. I'll catch you later. Bye bye.